Good evening, everyone. I'm back. Welcome. Let me get a little comfortable here. Welcome to episode 5. At least this better be episode 5. I sometimes can lose count of these things. This isn't my number one primary uh, job, but it is my hobby. So, you'll have to forgive me if I lose track of episodes of what have you, or if there's any topics that maybe I've gone over once in a previous video, but it's brought back up again for some reason or another. Anyway, so what I would like to kind of span out on today is, well, tonight. Anyway, I'm not sure where you are, but it's about evening time here. Um, I have, I think I've discussed in a previous video how I'm part of a club, a lifestyle club, right? So that lifestyle club is hooked up to FetLife, meaning there are events that are there that you can schedule and say that you're going or not going. I happen to participate in them. Um, uh, a lot of events are just social events. It's just a meet and greet, so no real big deal. Um, uh, it's BYOB, so you can drink whatever you want. Bring your own whiskey or vodka or what have you. But uh, I guess what I like about it is that people can feel really so comfortable in their element, just being completely naked, like a nudist colony or something like that. I'm completely dressed the whole time, but still, I mean, and except for when I'm in the hot tub that they have there, the hot tub in a swimming area that they have there, then I'm in my at least my shorts or something. But anyway, back to the meat of this thing, like uh, on my account. Since I've joined kind of like the lifestyle community um, years ago, I wasn't really there really wasn't a social media site for kinksters or um, uh, BDSM lifestyle circles. I mean, there were a couple sites. I think Adult Friend Finder may have been one of them that were kind of big back then. They've been around, I think, since like maybe I want to say 2005 or six or something. As far as anyone knows. But since then there's been like plenty of fish, and there's been apps, Tinder and Grinder and this and that. But these things are starting to evolve into different types of things now. Now you got OnlyFans. Now you have now you have Pornhub. I can, just really to hop into a time machine real quick, because a lot of people who are 20 years old and um, younger will never understand the struggles us older people went through during the early days of the internet. I mean, there was a time where when if you wanted to see like a pornographic image, you really had to be patient. You had to wait for buffering and buffering and buffering just to watch like maybe 2, 3, or 4 seconds of like clear video, like a clear uninterrupted video. You have to wait like 30 minutes or something like that just for the stream to buffer. So back in the 56 kbps era of internet transmission, um, I mean, there was really nothing you can do about it because all you had was dial-up in order to get to the internet. Only with the cable system and DSL systems did you have like a faster way to um, access the internet online. And the only reason you even want to stream that kind of information is because of the porn. So, I mean, that's what everyone was doing. I was downloading porn back in those days. Um, Lots of video, lots of peer-to-peer application files back in the day. Um, Back in the beginning when Napster was the thing to have. I got a whole bunch of music from there once upon a time. I mean, all those files are gone, but I had them once, once upon a time. Now everything I buy, I have a receipt. It's in my iTunes account or something like that. Either that or I have the physical CD. But yeah, back in those days, I mean, you were better off watching like everything was GIF oriented, as far as movement. Back then, I mean, that's pretty much the only thing you're whacking off to back in the old days of dial up. I mean, you're I mean, if the site had a lot of graphics on it, you'd be waiting, I don't know, maybe a good 45 minutes until the whole site is done rendering, like every executed like behind the scenes JavaScript or whatever's behind there. Anyway, um, so back then I didn't see like interracial porn didn't really have a big place among mainstream porn for a while. Uh, I, you can find some videos that had a male porn star in them that may have turned out to be an interracial scene, but those weren't, mainstream covers of films, or those weren't advertised really big back in the 80s and 90s, not when I was coming up. I think back when I was coming up with big hair, big titties, and a real flat stomach or something like that, like kind of like a model's body or something, like like it was really desired, like the bigger the titty, the better. So in came the era of like huge titties, like Lethal Weapons and Donita Dunes, or I think that's how you pronounce it. Um, don't get me wrong, I'm fans of all of them, but these were just the female actresses adult actresses that I used to watch in my day. They used to. I think it was kind of rare. Interracial was kind of rare back in the 80s, but it was, I think, it grew more common back in the 90s. So you really didn't have a really good idea that people with different ethnic groups were kind of mixing. I mean, not in the way that we see it now. Mainstream now. Now it's a category that you can find. You can find Middle Eastern. You can find Indian. You can find Latino. You can find Asian. So all these categories are there now, and you have everybody mixed with everybody. I mean, now um, sex has gone interracial, and interracial is now mainstream, and those are two things I never thought I'd see, in my lifetime, like either celebrated or profitable in any market. I mean, you know, but anywho, so I started to think about different ideas about how people are kind of addicted to their phones, and how people don't. know how to really communicate very well in person. So there were, I mean, I think we live in an era of hyperconnection, when it comes to information, but we may know what we read on somebody's profile, but we really don't know the person that we're dealing with because the profile can only tell you what you're thinking about at that time. It doesn't explain who you are from day to day. Um, because who you are day to day differs, right? You're angry one day, you're happy the next day, you're on top of the world one day, and you're at your lowest on a Tuesday. All of your hobbies aren't going to be listed uh, on any profile that you fill out. Um, and even if they were, who's going to sit there and have the patience to read through all of that? So, I mean, I understand that this newer generation coming up is really attention based. When I say attention based, attention deficit based, meaning you can only hold their attention for a limited amount of time before you lose them. You lose their focus entirely to something that they'd rather be thinking about. So, whatever you're trying to convey to them has to be 100% entertaining 100% of the time, or they'll never really get the message that you're trying to convey. But anywho, I remember back in my early days of coming up as a younger guy, I was kind of I was warned against interracial dating. I was warned about it. I think my mom kind of planted some seeds of like of scrutiny, if that's the right term. Kind of like that kind of warning of, be careful with these women out here and this and that. They're fast and they're this and they're that. And, just worry about your school and don't worry about these women and try and chase after you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm worried about them. If I like them, I want to, mess around with them. I want to be with them. It's now that I'm an adult, I'm thinking to myself as like a child when I was a younger teenager. Yeah, it's my biological imperative to be like horny all the time. Like just thinking about girls all day long. Yeah, it's like it's so. Now that we're talking about this, now that I've opened this can of worms, and I'm sorry to kind of make this leap, but I think really need to express this. So because I just had a revelation. Like during your formative years, your formative teenage years, when you're in junior high, high school, things like that, like you're discovering your own sexuality, right? Like who you are as a person, but who you're attracted to. And I don't think many people can help who they're attracted to. I think that's just a natural, primal, instinctive thing. I mean, you can say it's looks or you can say it's this or that, but it's something really that you really can't articulate or explain. Like not when it comes to attraction. Um, so back when I was a teenager, there were a lot of girls in my junior high and in high school that I just wanted to nail. I mean, just I was just turned on by so many women, and I had an issue trying to control my sexual urges because all I'm thinking about I think all I'm thinking about as a teenager and all you're thinking about until you're probably until the day you die is, can I fuck this girl? Can I fuck this girl? Do I see myself like having sex with her over there? How about her over there? How about her over there? How about her over And, this is all the time. This is everywhere I go. This is before I go to bed. This is before as I wake up. And I I mean, I'm starting to realize, but I realize that women in no way, shape, or form, think along those lines, and that's, fine and acceptable, but for us, it's, a completely, different ball of wax, right? So, with that in mind, you're in an environment where women are developing their body parts at different stages of their life. You're a teenager, you're checking out, like, what happens is there can be a summer where this girl was completely skinny. She's been your friend for years. You guys get along and you're pals and you know each other's locker combinations or whatever that used to be. And she's gone for the summer. You both come back to school. All of a sudden, she's got body parts. And it's like, you know, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" So a woman can come back to school, has a new body, and, I'm looking at her different. I mean, I'm looking at her different, like, "Damn, you know, you've always been a really good friend, and I hope you let this Hulk smash." But, um, it complicates things, that's all I'm saying. But it's happened. It's happened to me. So it's I don't know. I don't know what to. Uh, we're just. It's your mind is so consumed with wanting to um, practice the art of sex 8 hours a day while you're at school. And it is very hard to think about anything else for 5 seconds other than that because there is a girl in your class, in every single class you take, maybe every single one or not, but mostly 80 to 90%, there are women that in your class as a teenager that you really wanna have sex with and hook up with. Of course, you can't and you never do, but, um but it doesn't stop you from thinking about it, so Um, I want to say it's a curse, but um, uh, only because it's torture in a way. You can always think about things that you can never have in real life. So, um, be that as it may, we us men still grow up to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, and things like that. So it must mean that we eventually stop thinking about sex once in a while. In order to gain more knowledge and apply it in a constructive manner. But I'll tell you one thing though, you know, all of the things that we build, all of the things that we made, and all of the advancements that we've improved on from here to there has all been in the name of trying to impress some chick somewhere. You know, and if I'm not saying and if I maybe not 100% of the time, but I would say a good 80 to 90% of the time, like I would build or make something to impress like a girl. I mean, we're just we're just that petty. um, you know, we'll write a song, we'll paint a picture, we'll make this tower and name it after. We'll name a car. We'll do a lot. We'll do the most. We'll build a ship and name it Agnes. We do all this kind of shit. So I can't be that crazy. But yeah. But from what I understand, um, in my teenage years, um, It's not that here's what's difficult about your teenage years, coming from a personal perspective, and I think other people who, watch this later can relate. Like, there are many, like, classmates in women that I sometimes try and look up and be like, "I wonder what's up with this one. I wonder what's up with that one." Now, of course, I don't have I'm much more mature now, so I don't have to worry about wanting to, mess with them or anything. But it is nice to kind of follow up and be like, "Hey, how you doing? How you been? Nice kids," and kind of exchange a little bit of banter, only if not to walk down memory lane a little bit. Maybe catch up on some stuff that you didn't know about other people. So there's always that too. But what I've been wanting to do lately is I've been wanting to look up old classmates that I maybe had a crush on, right? And I've been wanting to kind of seek a little bit of I don't want to say, yeah, I guess I want to say closure, but I guess I wanted to go back and be like, hey, you knew I knew I had, I had a crush on you, right? I mean, if I just get that, I think if I could just get that out there and get some real honest feedback, um, I think then, I think most people should do this or try to do this, even if that person's in a relationship or a marriage. I mean, you're not coming for them anyway. I mean, you're only coming for the dialogue. So, yeah, I think some people need closure sometimes, especially when it comes to a crush that you've had for a long, long time. I used to be in love with this woman. I remember, I mean, we were really good friends for a really long time. I mean, we talked to each other about everything, but but the interesting tidbit was that, like, deep down somewhere, like, I fell in love with her, and I mean hard. Um, and it was weird because I denied it for so long, so many years, so long. I didn't understand it, and I didn't know understand how strong that feeling was either. But she but I talked to her about it, and I told her how I felt, and it disappointed me. Her response disappointed me, but I needed to hear it from her that it was never going to happen between us, and that she can never like return the same feeling that I feel for her. So she thinks I deserve that. So that's it's I mean it's comforting, but crushes one's soul as well. I mean, I had a dream about this girl. I had a dream that we were actually together. So I kind of woke up thinking, okay, maybe I am supposed to tell her, and maybe I am supposed to, shoot my shot or whatever. And I did. Now, even though it was like a horrible fail, I still I still feel better knowing that I actually told this woman how I felt and that she actually told me her response and how she felt, and that I can like kind of put that aside and move on because I was hanging on to that feeling for so long that it weighed on me, and it was like a guilt. mm, it's kind of like guilt how it weighs on you over time because you did something horrible to somebody else. But when you find that person, you talk to them about that incident and you kind of ask for forgiveness and they're able to forgive you for said incident, there's kind of a weight that's lifted off your shoulders. And, you know, I think a crush is the same burden as s- s- uh, um, a bully would have on his victim. Like, I need to apologize. They deserve an apology. I think the crush that you have on someone else, I think it warrants some exposure, and I think it warrants some closure. If you had a crush on somebody, I don't care how young you were, I do think that you kind of owe it to yourself and as a person to reach out to them and tell them that at this age, at this point in your life, you felt some kind of way about them. You never told them about it. You remember how you felt when you saw them on this day or that day or this day or that day. Um, there are usually specific memories of this person that you have that are tattooed in your mind forever. Um, there are probably in the back of your mind some things you wish you would have said. And I really think that you need to go over in your mind the things that you would have said to this person and then actually find that person and say what you catch up with them and then say what you would have said to them, um, speaking 15 years later or 17 years later, however long it was. They deserve to hear what you would have told them so many years ago had you not been so afraid of the response or what have you. So that's kind of the mindset of where I am right now. I'm kind of trying to explore more of a thing where I can go back into my past and kind of dig out um, some crushes that I had, and I'm hoping I can reach out to them and just have a mature conversation about feelings I had for them way back in the day, and maybe if they knew, didn't know, I don't know. Um, maybe they knew and didn't say anything. Maybe they knew and didn't care. Maybe they never knew. Um, I re- I just wish. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 months from now, well, I'll be in a completely different place, and they'll have a whole bunch of people, and some of them will be my ex crushes or something like that. But, right now, things are the way they are. Brand new podcast, episode 5. I have big plans, obviously, rarely big, really big plans. I run several chat rooms for Telegram, and some of them are popping alive and some of them are dead. It just depends which ones you go to. But what I do plan on doing is hosting a video chat, hopefully on Telegram, and then hopefully maybe jump it to something on screen for a panel here. Either that or maybe record it and then just maybe just play it on here later and just react to what everybody's saying and see if I can get some comments and um, what people think of what's going on, where people are living at, things like that. It'll be fun. But also, so besides that little point project of or pet project of going around finding people who you had crushes on and then kind of confiding in them, like, hey, I did have a little thing for you back in junior high, 6th grade or whatever. Did you know? I mean, I think the question to ask is, did you know how I felt, or um did someone tell you, or I mean, I think people deserve to know. So, uh, I'm gonna try. There are a list of women that I probably need to kind of reach out to and and see what their opinions are on the matter. Um, there's also uh, there's also some women that I probably need to talk to about what it was like when we were together. What their sexual preferences are and why uh, interracial relationships, sex, dating, and marriage, all that. Bringing that up as a topic, digging into each one of them, finding out what's what. So, so yeah, there's a lot to get into. But what was I thinking? So, besides my besides my teenage years, um, I remember discovering um, pornography in the form of magazines for the most part. Now, like again live in San Antonio, Texas. So down here, what we understand is Channel 99, and Channel 99 is the pornography channel for Texas back in 1980 to 1990 something, right? So during a rainstorm, you might be able to make out some horizontal like pictures for maybe a quarter of the screen that you're looking at, and for maybe I don't know mm, half a minute or something. I don't know. It's a special treat for those of us male pervs back in the day. But yeah, but it came in the form of a magazine. So there was this closet, a storage closet, and we would hide the magazine under the storage closet, at least like one or two. And then we would every day we came out for summer, we'd take that magazine out, and then we would just go somewhere and we just read it, go through different pages, read into an article or whatever, look at how the girls are bent over and positioned. And um I mean, sexual discovery in the 80s and 90s, very different than today, right? I mean, it just it really is. But yeah, magazines. I remember there was a graphic comic. Oh, this is a personal story, and I hate these, but here it goes. Graphic sexual comic, and 1990 something. So back then, I was calling my friends, um, Mikey and Jake. And I am gonna use their names. I don't give a damn. They're my friends. Anyway, so I called Mikey and Jake, and back then, three-way calling is something you had to be skilled at to do. You had to know how to call someone, click over to another line, call someone else, wait till they answer, and then click back over, and then you'd have a conference call, three-way calling. I can't believe I was explaining three-way calling. Anyway, so me, Mikey, Jake. So I'm reading this like comic, and it's a dirty comic, so I'm just reading. And I'll never forget, I know what it was. So it was this traffic jam. This was this okay, so the scenario, this little comic strip, this was like a traffic jam. Like two truckers are, just complaining about the the traffic or whatever. So this like woman in another car, like and she's stuck in a traffic jam too, but she just gets in the mood all of a sudden. She's just horny as fuck, right? So she like pulls up her skirt and starts playing with herself. And then she unbuttons her blouse and then lets her tits out while she's playing with herself. And then the two truck drivers see, from up above, like, hey, this bitch is hot. She's like in the mood or whatever. So the two truck drivers get out of the truck, sit in the middle of traffic, go to her car, and then take her in the long truck cab. They pull over the truck, and they take her in the truck cab, not the truck cab, the trailer, and then they start messing with her. Right, both of them just turns into an all-out three-way. So you know, um, as I was reading the dialogue, like I think my friend Jake had to go to bed. His stepdad was a real ass back in the day. Probably still is. I can say that now because of who I am. But But he told Jake to go to bed. He did go to bed. I thought I did the three-way click over thing to where it was only me and my friend Mike that was still on the phone. But apparently his stepdad was listening in on the phone call while I was reading this like porn um, comic dialogue to Mike. So he just sits there listening. Then he says, I heard everything you just said. Da, 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 da. And I'm gonna be like contacting your parents and let them both know that what you guys are doing. I like never as a kid that I want to be able to. I think the movie Big was out back then. I wanted to find a Zoltar machine. Wish that was big, just so I can like whoop his ass and just kick the fucking shit out of him. But yeah, that was probably one of my more humiliating experiences with like a porn magazine. Because getting caught by your parents, whether reading it or looking at it, it's not really fun. I mean, uh, uh, I'm not sure how old everyone is now, but I mean, now you have your privacy of your phone. You can go anywhere and do anything without anybody looking at you. But to find privacy back, way back when, without all the camera phones, with all without all the technology, it was hard. You had to really be a detective, find out, where there is no one, so you can look at the dirty comic and then just keep it under your. I remember walking with that comic and keeping it under my shirt because it's like dirty fucking comic. It's like pornography. So it's like, and so I'd walk and people who walk by me, they're like looking like, man, we know what the fuck is under your shirt. But it didn't matter anyway. But what did matter is later on in the 90s, um, I'll tell you how men kind of introduce themselves into sex because a lot of women just may or may not know, or probably don't know. But we're usually introduced first by the still images like magazines or comics, and then we get into the motion pictures. And the motion pictures are usually um for me like I mean back in my day there were 80s and 90s classics, right? Classics porn. I loved it. It actually had a story. They actually had characters with names. There were I mean some cheesy music. You know what I miss about 80s porn and 90s porn is the cheesy music. The music was it really made like the film just pop. But yeah, I mean the story behind I mean there's parody movies. I love parody movies. Who doesn't love a good parody movie? Um I mean, I mean, if I had some kind of second job, if I had like that kind of screw you money, I would want to do my own porn business and do just nothing but parodies. I do parodies all the time and funny ones too. I do some like timepieces and shit. I'd get all kinds of kinky with it. No, don't let me do that. But yeah, so we get started with, for me classics. And then we get introduced to the more um we get into the soft core. I think we get more into the soft core porn first because I got introduced to the soft core porn. So, excuse me. For many young people who haven't even heard of what soft core porn is, back in the early 90s, sex was until the 90s, in the 80s and in the 70s, sex was seen as something not to be shown on a television screen. It can only be shown maybe in a movie theater or um, on a videotape. Because on the videotape, it's a private viewing, and in the movie theater, it's again same thing, a private viewing. So something streamed over the airwaves that included adult content needed to be on a special subscribe line in order to weed out who wanted to view that sort of content and who didn't. So the original Showtime on box office, which is HBO, the original Cinemax, of course, some of us call it Skinemax for obvious reasons. But these channels were the first channels to ever um, uh, verbalize adult content, curse words, and also nudity. Um, Now, mind you, n- these channels never they had rules. Um, the typical rule was you were not to display a woman's entire body. You obviously can't show her actual, vaginal orifice, but maybe you can show like an outline or a bikini design, but never her actual lips or anything. But for the man, you show nothing. You never show like the male phallus or balls of a man on television. So it's understood. And there's a reason for that. I think the reason you're not supposed to be showing a man's dick on television is because there would be no black men on television. I don't think so. Not if you're allowed to show like the dick. I'm thinking about it. You're able to show almost a woman's anything on a cable TV channel, but you're never able to show a dick on a cable channel. I don't care what channel it is. You're not showing it. And the only reason I can really think of is because of the size. If the size didn't matter, you'd see it all day long, but you don't. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So, you know, yeah. See, ask any network executive. Bring that up at your next take a little pad and pen and be, I notice you show a woman's this, a woman's that, and a woman's that. How come you don't show the male about genitalia? I would love I would love to be a fly on the wall. I would love to be just an audience member. I would love to be just a stenographer that just takes the verbal exchange on. It's an interesting question to ask a network executive of one of these major channels. Anyway, we'll put that to the side over here. And what we'll move on to is besides uh, softcore porn is hardcore porn, and hardcore porn, I believe, is not only shows. I think it not only shows like everything as far as penetration goes, but it shows the extremities of it. Um, Softcore is exactly what it's supposed to be: soft and gentle and nice and smooth and easy and sensual and mostly feminine in nature. Hardcore porn's going to be more for the male. It's going to be more of the rough, aggressive, um, dominating, um, bullish, savage, uh, uh, primal expression. So we're talking about. reducing a woman to a sex object. I mean, one scene at a time, but you know, and I talk to different women all day, every day, and I ask them different questions. And I get some different answers depending on the type of one I'm talking to. Some women like prefer being used like that. Some women actually get off and they get real turned on the rougher a man treats them like in the bedroom when it comes to playtime. So I mean, we can all do a collective shrug, but I mean, I'll never be able to figure out that these different types of women. I mean, a question is a more kinky type of woman who likes the rough stuff versus one who likes the more gentle. I mean, it's no wonder that men cheat the way they do because different women want to be handled differently, and I feel that a lot of us men need both types of women to please and to satisfy. Like your wife may be the one who's gentle, most likely, who likes to be handled gently, but the woman that you go and screw with, she needs to be handled roughly. She needs to be um, taken. She needs to be um, dominated. And maybe only you can provide that from her, and she's willing to only have you provide that for her. So, I find this kind of common more in interracial relationships rather than um, um, heteroracial. Heteroracial, is that a word? Maybe, I don't know. Um, homogenous relationships. There you go, homogenous. Um, only because there's always like a power dynamic. Um, as you can kind of see to my left shoulder, there's usually a power dynamic at play here. Um, now, I remember. I'm not a bigger guy, right? There's the alpha males and there's the beta males, and the beta can never become an alpha, right? He can only become a beta alpha. He can only become um, a tougher intellectual. He cannot become an alpha because he's not built like an alpha. An alpha is a build. It's not a way of so much thinking. It's the amount of testosterone. It's a lot of it's a balance between men. Um, and women can kind of detect which one is which. So, but I mean, the point is, where was I going with this? The point I was going with this is that I do play a role as a dominant, but it's only in certain scenarios. It's not in every scenario that I come across. Some women I know that like it. I play into it. Um, there are things that I know that they want from me, vice versa. So, uh, complete submission sexually gets people off. Depends on who you're with. Couples usually want and desire a dom or bull, which I was way back when. Probably to some extent still am, but not really practicing that religion at the moment. Too busy podcasting and working these days. But I still attend, fun events, social events, still like to mingle with everybody, still like to talk, still like to get as much information as humanly possible. Um, still like to ask a lot of questions that are probably none of my business, but I should be asking them anyway in order to get to know people that much more thoroughly. But um, Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm getting to know a lot of women, um, in the QoS community, the Queen of Spades community, and I'm starting to ask questions about their stories. And I think I mentioned this in one of my earlier podcasts. But what I wanted to start doing is seeing if they wanted to share any of their stories, either on my podcast or whatever, just to kind of read the conversation back and forth and see what other people think of it when they watch this back in a few days. So, I mean, there are ideas like that that I have. Also, I told you about the video conferencing thing with a couple of lady friends of mine and my chat groups that I run. There's also events that come up in person that I like to attend to, and a lot of things go down at these events. But I mean, yeah, I talk about them if I'm involved, but if I'm not involved, I don't like to mention, anyone, especially by any other names or anything like that. I can describe them and I can. Um, and tell you what they look like, but don't want to get into the weeds on too much on somebody's identity unless I personally know them and they're friends of mine, and then you can probably reach out to them, find them on Facebook, and you can verify whether the story that I told is true or not. They'll tell you, and they remember. So that's what's often cool about 21st century technology now. You can kind of follow up and verify for yourself. Um, so I was watching I was looking back at some older movies, interracial movies, and there was this movie with Michael Rappaport called Zebrahead, and, yeah, eh, but, he was a white guy who wanted to date, like, a black female, and they had to go through all the trials and tribulations of interracial dating, um And now I've never seen this movie before in my life, but I know it's out there. When I figured out what it was about, I was like, I can't be watching this." I mean, now that I'm an adult, I'm probably gonna have to watch it. I have to see what I've been missing and how good of a movie it is or isn't for myself. Um, I have to probably go back and watch a whole lot of movies that I said I wouldn't watch because of some immature reason, one way or another. And I just said, rather not. Now that I'm a little older, I can kind of appreciate a movie more. I mean, it took me a while to see Avatar. Everyone was on that, and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to, excuse me, spend a chunk of my life, sitting there watching a movie and not understand what's going on half the time. No, thank you. But I mean, yeah, I mean, just stuff like that. So, um, I mean. Learning to grow, learning to listen to a lot of people now, learning to please a lot more women now, learning a lot about couples in the modern era. Um, I mean, what I'm learning about couples these days is that I mean, I don't know if they've already just talked this out and made an agreement. I don't know if this was always the agreement, but as long as couples, I think, allow each other to play with other people here and there, and dip in and out of the lifestyle, I think their marriage and their relationship kind of grows up just that a little bit much stronger. Um, Only because I'm sure you have to go through, like, jealousy. I mean, that's also a possibility, or insecurity, that's a possibility. But I mean, I think when couples talk things out and they dip their toe in the water and they find out what they want and then they got what they want and then they can have their fun, they can dip right back out again, you know? Um, and it usually And usually I find that dipping in and out like that is how, they make it work. They don't, uh, seem to be over controlling one over the other. There's usually, like, a gap, not a gap, but there's a space and there's trust within that space that, hey, you guys are married or you guys are together, and it doesn't matter who you play with, but this relationship, takes priority over whoever you may play with. I think as long as that's the understanding and the practice, then the relationship can pretty much stand through any other trial or tribulation that you come across, right? Because the number one thing is either money, children, or the affairs that you have. And if you take one of those major things off the table, then it leaves you with two, bigger things to worry about, right? So, there's something to be said for that. Um, I do think that I'm gonna keep repeating this. People need to be having more sex. Women need to be having more sex with men. Men need to Men who are, sharing their women, um, they need much more appreciation for doing so. Um, Men need to know how to hunt more, know how to approach a woman, capture a woman's attention, know how to wine and dine. Uh, we've lost, uh We have lost our way. Many of our young men have lost their way in the art of flirting and flirtation and waiting for the right moment to ask and to take rejection and to keep trying in different subtle ways. Um, I mean, a lot of younger men, like, will just give up way, way too easily. And sometimes they just talk themselves out of shit. And it's just like, nah, man, how about you talk yourself into shit? Just, well, why not? Let me see. Worst thing she can say is no. Always remember, worst thing she can say is no, or no, thank you, or not interested, or what have you. Other than that, keep it moving to the next one. There are millions of girls out there, millions of women. So I try not to dwell on just the one now. These days, I'm trying to um, uh, talk to different women, and I'm trying to meet them in different avenues and different apps and venues. One of them, of course, being Tinder. I've never thought I'd be the guy to have a Tinder profile, be swiping through these pictures and reading through these profiles like I do, but it's really interesting because yes, there may be some interesting people in your area, but at the same time, um, um, there may be interesting people who are a bit further away from you. And what I'm starting to find out is that, you know, in 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 my work, I want to I want to be able to travel more, to different states. I want to be able to see different parts of the country. And while I do, I still want to be able to maintain that I can, like, have a healthy, work-life balance in my travels. So it'd be nice to be able to go across the country, work my 8 to 5 job, and then after hours, host my podcast and just meet different people, have interesting conversations, um, and then we go from there. But, these are ideas. I mean, I got a whole bunch of them. I got just nothing but ideas. Sometimes I just lay awake in my bed just thinking of ideas. Nothing but ideas in my head to put on a podcast or make this podcast even more better and popping than it already is. But besides that, yeah, there are a few couples that I want to interview, and then of course there's the single women that I want to interview as well. So I'm gonna see if I can get that on film, or at least get that on audio, and then after that, see where things go from there. But for right now, we're coming up on an hour, so I may end it here only because until we get a panel going or until we get some email with some questions or some stories to read. We will keep it to an hour, and I shall see you in 2 days.